Hi everyone, here's the Book Chemist once again. Today I'm reviewing Jason Mott's Hell of a Book, a title so good that every reviewer out there has already made the obvious joke, but let me say it once again, this is exactly what it says on the tin, in more ways than one. I knew nothing about this book before I decided to read it, except that it won the National Book Award a couple of weeks ago. I find the NBA is a very reliable prize when it comes to sourcing really great, really stimulating novels. Nothing like that scuzzy Booker Prize. And I would say that this is a very peculiar way to get into Blind. It's a very disorienting but also fascinating experience approaching a hell of a book if you don't know anything, if you don't know what to expect. So, like all successful YouTubers out there, I'm going to encourage you to stop watching my content and go away and read the book without, similarly to what I did, without knowing anything more. If you want to know just a little bit more, I won't spoil. I'll try to spoil as little as possible of its structure and its plot. Do keep watching, or similarly, if you've read it and you're looking forward to discussing it, well, here I am. I would define Hell of a Book as a bit of a maze, or is it a labyrinth, where two separate parallel stories run side by side in the course of the novel and intertwine in complex and seemingly contradictory ways. Half of the book follows a character, a kid nicknamed Soot, who is bullied tremendously, heavily, horribly, because of the dark color of his skin, and who might or might not possess the power of invisibility. While the other half of the book focuses on the novel's narrator, a writer in his late 30s who is going on a book tour after the success of his recent book, his recent publication called Hell of a Book. This author is at once socially stunted but also charming and winning. He has a quirky persona that he uses to cover up his awkwardness. He often speaks in the tone and in the style of a character from a 1940s black and white noir movie. And he has this condition where he struggles to distinguish between his daydreams, things he fantasizes about, and his reality, what's actually happening to him. So, to put it briefly, he's a writer, basically. The two stories that I mentioned run, as I said, in parallel for most of the book. However, it becomes apparent fairly early on that there is some kind of connection there. The author is haunted throughout the book by a kid named simply the Kid, who resembles Soot very suspiciously. And the author, seems also strangely forgetful about certain crucial aspects of his own childhood. I will say, however, that if you're expecting a very clear-cut twist, a bit of a Sixth Sense, Alfred Hitchcock sort of final spin on the plot, you might just about be disappointed because the novel is more complex and I would say more open than that when it comes to handling these two plots and exploring their relationship. A big amount of this complexity stems from the fact that at the heart of the novel is a dilemma. That is a dilemma that every artist has to face. It's a dilemma, I would argue, at the heart of artistic expression for all artists in the world, but especially for people who belong to minorities or ethnic groups or social classes that are disadvantaged, persecuted, and attacked, such as African Americans in the United States. The dilemma of should your art focus on your own experience and focus on your individuality, or should it speak about the condition of your people, about their struggle, about the injustices that they have to face? The novel, broadly speaking, as an art form, is inherently liberal and bourgeois because it exposes you to various different points of view and gives value to all of them and shows how different situations can be approached from so many different perspectives. If you read too many of these things, inevitably you get to a point where you start feeling that everybody is right and everybody is wrong all at the same time, which inevitably can push you toward moderate and liberal political positions. The author in Hell of a Book is maybe susceptible to this at times. He is obviously aware of the violence that African Americans are subjected to and the violent ways they often meet their untimely death, even in present-day United States, as we are all painfully aware of. But he is also aware that, say, the crime rate in the US is the lowest it's been since the 1980s. So can things really be that bad? More concretely, at one point in the book, he witnesses a Black Lives Matter demonstration, and he seems supportive of it, but instead of joining in or even expressing visceral sympathy for it, he prefers to walk into the bookshop that he was heading toward and proceed with his reading and just talk about his book. Is it appropriate to act so moderate in the face of systemic oppression? Is this capacity to see different point of views, including the point of view of the oppressor, of the people who pull the trigger, is this a good thing, or is it actually a trap? Is it one of the ways the system uses to perpetrate itself? Hell of a Book explores these difficult, really complicated, difficult questions in a way that is very intelligent and that really eschews any facile or simple reading. It does its best to approach them maturely and with a high degree of wisdom. I'm making it sound like this is a political or even a metafictional treaty, which it is in its own subtle way. But I would argue that this is most of all a book that's really funny. The sections where the narrator talks about his sudden success as an author, his struggle when he was working in a call center in customer service for a phone company, his relationship with his agent and his publicist, all of these passages are truly hilarious. At the same time, the book can also be emotional in a scouring, devastating way. It is a beautiful story, and it's a marvelous novel that is not afraid to be playful, self-conscious, in a way that's quite complex, and I would argue it's fairly postmodern, but that still keeps it playful and keeps it natural. It's still a very natural, very entertaining read. To me, this is also a fantastic book about the experience of life as a daydreamer, about being somebody who spends most of their lives dreaming about a better world instead of being out there living your life in the actual one we all share. It speaks about the experience of being a bit of a fantasist, a bit of an escapist, a bit of a daydreamer in ways that are beautiful and that highlight both the wonders of this tendency, but also its pitfalls. In this, it seemed to me to be very much in the vein of the dream stories of H.P. Lovecraft, short stories such as The Silver Key or C'est la Fée, which also focus on characters, dreamy characters that pine for a better world and struggle with the constraints of modern everyday life. I realized that this could sound as a provocation. H.P. Lovecraft was, for most of his life, famously a horrible racist, and this is a book that is very aware of the devastating, deathly impact of racism on the life of African Americans. But I would argue that recuperating what is good from the fiction of Lovecraft and of other problematic writers is, while also not shying away from their horrors, from the racism and the prejudice that produced a lot of this art, is a constructive way to face the past, face the system that created this art, while also appreciating it for what it can teach us and for what solace it can give us. I do realize, however, that all of this is very easy for me to say as a white person, and that it might be a controversial opinion. And if you think that it is, please do let me know. I do want to discuss these things. I think this is amazing. I think Hell of a Book is a fantastic novel. I struggle to categorize it, which makes it hard to recommend. But I would say that if you're a fan of Toni Morrison or Ralph Ellison or Thomas Pynchon or Murakami or Louis Erdrich, Jennifer Egan, or good books, I think you're going to have a great time with it. And I think you should read it. Thanks so much for watching the review. I always appreciate it. Thank you to my patrons for supporting the YouTube channel. And bye, everybody.